IELTS Listening, version 56181. You will hear a number of different recordings, and you will have to answer questions on what you hear. There will be time for you to read the instructions and questions, and you will have a chance to check your work. All the recordings will be played once only. The test is in 4 parts. Write all your answers in the listening question booklet. At the end of the test, you will be given 10 minutes to transfer your answers to an answer sheet. Now turn to Part 1 on page 2 of your question booklet.
Part 1. You will hear a telephone conversation between a sales assistant in a camping equipment store and a customer who wants to order some items. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 5. Now listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 5.
Hello, North Star Camping Equipment. This is Emma.
Oh, hello. I've been looking through your online catalogue. The problem is, I haven't got time to come into the store this week. Is there any chance you can put some things aside for me?
Sure. Let me just get an order form. OK, so what's your surname, please?
Greenaway.
OK, Mr. Greenaway, I'll give you an order reference to write down.
OK.
It's a mixture of numbers and letters. The reference is 5174XCM.
Right, got that.
So, what were you looking for?
Well, we're going on a camping holiday, 2 adults, 2 children, so the first thing would be a tent. We need something family size, and I'd like to have a door at the front and one at the back.
OK, and anything else?
We all need sleeping bags as well.
So, what design do you need? Are you going to the mountains? Will there be snow?
Oh no, we're going to the beach. It'll be warm weather.
OK, so the design you need is what we call our summer sleeping bag. I'll put 4 aside for you.
Then we'll also need something to sleep on. Some camp beds, I guess.
Camp beds, yeah. Or these days, a lot of people are using, air mattresses that you blow up.
That sounds good. Easier to pack away.
And more comfortable.
But how do we blow them up?
You'll need a pump. I'll put one in for you. OK, now, what other things are you looking for?
Well, thinking about the cooking equipment, we need a stove.
There are all sorts of camping stoves. It depends what fuel you want it to run on. There's kerosene, charcoal.
Oh, that sounds too messy. I think we want the fuel to be gas if possible.
No problem. They're a bit more expensive than the other options.
That's okay.
Then do you need any pots, a frying pan, anything like that?
No, we'll bring those from home. What we need to think about is water. We'll need a large bottle for that.
All right. And how about knives and forks?
No, we'll be okay for those. But we'll need something to eat off, something unbreakable. Metal, maybe.
Yeah, that's best. So plates, then. A set of 4 in metal. Shall I add that to your order?
Yes, please.
They'll last a lifetime.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 6 to 10. Now listen and answer questions 6 to 10.
Now, I'm just thinking what else we might need. We've got raincoats, but we really need a couple of new torches. I'd rather not have plastic. The boys will just break them.
We've got some good rubber ones.
They'll be perfect.
I'll organise 2 of those. Then, I don't know, do you want some games for your children to play?
That's not a bad idea.
Even just a football or something?
We've already got a ball. Let's think. What we really need is something that young kids can use. Do you have a baseball set? They'd love that.
Sure, I'll put one in for you. Any other games?
No, I think that'll be enough. There's lots of things to do up there.
Where are you going, by the way?
Up to the Bay of Islands.
Oh, that's a lovely region.
In fact, that reminds me, we need an up-to-date map of the area. Do you sell those? Mine is very old.
No problem.
Great. Now, I've just thought, is there any chance you can deliver all these things?
Absolutely. What's the address?
It's 56 Taupo Street. I'll spell that for you. Taupo.
That's in Bayswater, isn't it?
Yes, that's right. And what would the charge be on that?
The standard charge is $50. But hang on, your order will be over $500, so you get a discounted delivery charge of only $25.50.
Great. Now, my wife and I will still be at work this week, so we won't be at home.
That is the end of part 1. You now have 1 minute to check your answers to part 1.
Part 2. You will hear a short talk given to a group of retired people about a club called Connect. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 15. Now listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 15.
Hello, I've been asked to talk to you today about Connect. Connect is a club for people who have retired from full-time work. The first Connect club began back in 1960 in Brisbane, Australia. Today, I'll concentrate on Frankston Connect, the club where I'm a member. It services the communities around the suburb of Frankston here in Melbourne. Okay, so what are our club aims? We're not a fitness club or anything like that. Some Connect branches do charity work, but that's not for us. Our objective is to provide social contact with others who have similar interests and ideas. Now, meetings. We have monthly club meetings where the usual club business is discussed. For example, at the last meeting, we talked about how much money was spent that month. Also at that meeting, someone had just returned from an overseas trip and he spoke about that. Then we looked at entries for our photography competition. The winner will be announced soon. Up until now, we've used the school hall for our meetings, but that's about to be renovated, so we needed to find an alternative. It's been a great venue because of its size and it's so easy to get to, but I'm sure historical Frankston Hall will suit us just fine. Our social committee plans and organises club trips from time to time, and they're always looking for suggestions from members for new places to go to. If you join, you should check the activities list that's posted on our website each month and attend anything that interests you. Come and make friends. We're just one big happy family. So, how do you join? And what about membership fees? It's simple. Just fill in the form and give it to me before you leave this morning. There are a few payment options. Some members prefer to make an annual payment, which is a slightly cheaper option, or you can pay monthly. Why don't you get a group together? It makes the activities more fun.
Before you hear the rest of the talk, you have some time to look at questions 16 to 20. Now listen and answer questions 16 to 20.
If you still haven't decided whether to join or not, let me try to tempt you with some of our upcoming events. Our Moonlight Wildlife Walk was previously available to members' immediate families as well, but this wonderful activity has become so popular that it's now limited to just members. Although it's free, we do ask our members to pay something to the Wildlife Fund so it can continue its good work. Everyone makes their way to the Wildlife Park independently, arriving at dusk, where a guide walks with the group and tells us about all the animals we encounter. Okay, theatre in the park. We see a different play every month. The park's on the train line and easy to access, so we don't organise buses or anything. Come along and recline on a blanket on the grass, although some members prefer to take along their own seat. No need to make a reservation, there's plenty of space. After the play, we all walk to a local cafe where you can purchase coffee and cake. It's a really fun night out. Bird watching is a regular activity and it's organised by the keen bird watchers in the club. This activity consists mainly of early morning and late afternoon walking trips to spot the birds when they're most active. Bird watching attracts only small numbers, so one of our ardent bird watchers drives members in the club van to the best spots. The City Botanical Gardens Walk is a popular activity that occurs a couple of times a year. Members make their own way there and usually meet up outside the gates at 8:45 a.m, setting off for the hour's walk with the volunteer guide by 9 a.m. Many members bring a friend or relative, and this is fine. Now, the State Library. Our visits here in the past have always been great because there's something for everyone. You can easily spend a whole day in there. There's a lovely restaurant and you can take food into the small cinema there where we'll be watching a short film about the history of our local area. So, what else can I tell you?
That is the end of Part 2. You now have 30 seconds to check your answers to Part 2. Part 3. You will hear a business studies student called Edward talking to his tutor about some research he is doing on product development. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 25. Now listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 25.
Hello, Edward. Sit down.
Thanks. I need some advice on my presentation about product development.
Right. Have you decided what to focus on?
Yes, the product I've chosen is a particular type of mosquito net.
Any reason for choosing that?
I spent last summer travelling round Africa with a friend. He's studying medicine, so when we were in a region where mosquitoes cause malaria, we visited a medical centre. I chatted to an administrator while my friend talked to one of the doctors, and I found out they've had far fewer cases of malaria since these mosquito nets became available locally. That made me interested in them.
OK. Mosquito nets have quite a long history, don't they? I believe they've been used in Japan for centuries.
That's right. Though apparently Queen Cleopatra slept under one in ancient Egypt. That was probably where they were invented.
Right.
And much later, nets were used in China, so perhaps they were invented there independently. Originally, they were made of silk, but later cotton was used, and nowadays they're mainly synthetic. It wasn't until the middle of the 20th century that they developed nets treated with insecticides for use by the military, and that was a major step forward. They used an insecticide called DDT, but it was later found that this could be harmful to people as well as mosquitoes.
Is that still a problem with modern nets?
Oh, no. The chemicals used nowadays are safe, even if people sleep under them every night. And the nets work, and they're odour-free. But they have to be treated fairly often with the chemical, which the owners need to do themselves.
Presumably distribution of the chemical can be a problem in remote areas? I mean, people may not be able to get hold of it easily.
That's right.
OK, tell me about this net you're going to talk about.
Well, the brand name is Oliset, and the product was invented by a Japanese company. These nets are an improvement on the alternatives because the insecticide is contained inside the fibre and released gradually. It's not coated on the outside as with ordinary nets.
So the chemicals don't have to be replaced?
Right, and Oliset nets are also tougher and don't tear as easily. They give protection for at least 5 years, compared with a year or two for other nets.
Well, it sounds interesting. But for your seminar presentation, will you provide the bigger picture as well?
Yes, it'll be a case study of product development.
Before you hear the rest of the discussion, you have some time to look at questions 26 to 30. Now listen and answer questions 26 to 30.
I thought I'd introduce my presentation by describing the background to the new product, the general context.
You mean the business context? Where the investment's coming from and that sort of thing?
Well, I was thinking I'd talk first about insect-borne diseases, particularly malaria, and why there's such an urgent need for new ways of fighting it. Some people might not know much about it.
Yes, that's a good idea.
I've got some statistics about the numbers of people worldwide who get the disease each year. I thought I'd show those. They're quite staggering.
I can imagine. It's one of the world's biggest health problems, after all. It'd also be useful if you could find some statistical information on how malaria affects countries' economic output and present that too.
OK. I'm sure I can find something. After that, I'll talk about mosquito nets. First, the historical development, just briefly, and then I'll introduce the Oliset mosquito net.
Yes, keep it simple. You could just present a bulleted list of its characteristics, the things that make it different from other types of net, and talk that through.
Right. Then I thought I'd outline the production process.
Fine.
Should I give some information about where the money for the project has come from? There are lots of government and private sponsors.
Definitely. That's a very important aspect of any product development. Where are the nets being manufactured, by the way?
Oh, over half are made in Tanzania by a company called A to Z. They got an interest-free loan to buy in the necessary machinery.
Well, I'd say a bit about the company profile as well, and then present figures about numbers of staff and the kinds of people they're employing on the Oliset project, if you can find the details.
OK. I haven't included any information about marketing. I've got a lot of notes about it, but I'm not sure how to present them.
I wouldn't mention that if I were you. You've only got a short time for your presentation and you've got quite a lot of material here already. But you should provide some figures about output. Have you found out from the company's website how many nets they actually produce?
Yes, it's over 30 million a year.
Right.
Then I'm not sure how to finish off. What do you think about including something on potential investment?
That is the end of Part 3. You now have 30 seconds to check your answers to Part 3.
Part 4. You will hear a marine biologist giving a lecture about the intelligence of the dolphin. First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40. Now listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40.
There is considerable controversy over the question of the intelligence of the marine mammal, the dolphin. Although many marine biologists, including myself, believe that it is a highly intelligent animal, I'd like to look at both sides of the question. Critics who say dolphins are not intelligent raise objections in several areas. As to the evidence of the dolphin's large brain size, the critics claim that this is not a sign of intelligence, but simply due to the presence of fatty glial cells. They argue that these cells are not used to think, which might imply intelligence, but rather they are used as insulation for the brain in the cold oceanic habitat. That is, I admit, one of the functions of glial cells. The critics also point out certain evidence of behaviour which they say shows that dolphins are rather dumb. For example, South African scientist Paul Manger says that dolphins are too stupid to jump over even a slight barrier, for example when they are trapped in a net used to catch fish like tuna. Again, I concede that tragically, this failure to escape often happens and leads to the unnecessary injury or death of dolphins. Finally, the critics resort to what I call the dumb bird argument. They downplay the possibility that certain animals are intelligent by pointing to seemingly remarkable feats in obviously small-brained species. If pigeons can do such things, or rats, the critics suggest, surely the fact that a dolphin or other large-brained animal might do similarly remarkable things isn't really a mark of intelligence. For example, say these critics, some pigeons have learned to select a key marked "Thank you" when they are delivered bits of food. Pigeons will also peck at their own reflections, indicating, some insist, that they are aware of their own bodies. And once more, I concede that some birds do display these actions. Let me address these arguments with what I see as the counter-evidence. First, as to brain size, the glial cells are not simply protective. They also function as important connections within the brain, which seem to be important for problem-solving and idea-creating, although scientists do not yet agree exactly how. As to behaviour, let me begin by saying that I certainly don't think we should believe everything positive that people claim about dolphins. For example, the notion that they smile when they are happy or pleased. This is certainly not true, because they don't have the facial muscles necessary for such physical expressions. But many aspects of their behaviour do indicate to me that they are highly intelligent. In captivity, dolphins are known to watch their keeper's particular manner of walking, for instance, and copy this. I am always impressed by how adept they are as mimics when I witness such behaviour. And dolphins have been known to outsmart their keepers. One female dolphin, who was rewarded with a fish for every piece of rubbish she collected from her tank, managed to trick her trainers into a bounty of food. They discovered that she had been keeping a newspaper on the bottom of the tank, and then ripping off small pieces of it to bring to the trainers one by one, thus maximising her snacks. I'd call that smart. For hundreds of years, we have known that dolphins exhibit social behaviour. To elaborate on this interaction among dolphins, let me cite several examples. Dolphins have been known to come to the aid of sick or wounded companions, supporting the injured or ailing near the surface of the water to help them breathe. Each dolphin produces unique sounds similar to a whistle, by which they recognise each other. They use these to signal one another over very long distances. I'll give you another instance. Dolphins touch and stroke each other to make up following a fight. Surely a sign of rather sophisticated intelligence. As for the dumb bird argument, yes, clearly even small-brained animals like pigeons can be trained to perform tricks. But these behaviours are usually no more than conditioned responses, learned in response to specific rewards like food. Or they are reactions which are instinctive. Are these truly comparable to the actions of Presley, a dolphin at the New York Aquarium, who, without any prompting whatsoever, reacted to being marked with paint by taking off at high speed to a distant part of his tank where a mirror was mounted? There he spun round and round, the way humans do in a dressing room, appearing to check himself out. There are many such observations of dolphin behaviour, which is why many animal researchers believe in dolphin intelligence.
That is the end of part 4. You now have 1 minute to check your answers to part 4.
That is the end of the listening test. You now have 10 minutes to transfer your answers to the listening answer sheet. You have 2 minutes left. You have 1 minute left. Please stop writing and wait for your question booklet to be collected.